Welcome to Coffee with the Mayor. I'm Deb Vitrelli, and we are broadcasting live from the top of Tampa Bay in beautiful downtown Oldsmar with our host, Oldsmar Mayor Eric Seidel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Oh, tired.
Why are you tired?
Lightning game.
Lightning game. It was a good one.
Very good one, yes.
It's always good when we win.
Yes, it is. And then some. Bad officiating, though.
Yeah.
So these segments are featured each Wednesday following an Oldsmar City Council meeting for the community. Before we begin, we encourage our viewing audience to submit any questions they may have during this segment by commenting on our Facebook Live feed. We will do our best to try and get your answers. And just in case we don't, you can always email Mayor Seidel directly at eseidel@myoldsmar.com and regarding anything we discussed today. So Coffee with the Mayor was developed by you to keep our residents, businesses, and community partners informed on highlights from last night's council meeting. So were there any interesting comments during Citizens Open Forum?
There was.
Really?
There was indeed. One
tell.
issue in particular, where a group of citizens who live over in the Forest Lakes, off Forest Lakes, were concerned about a permit the city issued to allow someone to do work on a piece of property. It's been out there for a long time, undeveloped. And when the property was originally plotted, there was no pond on it, and now there's a pond on it. And so they're draining the pond because there wasn't supposed to be one there to begin with. And the city kind of is in this situation where the property owner has rights, and what they submitted for was permitted. But an extreme important issue is what kind of impact will that have on flooding over there? And because the area is prone to flooding to begin with.
Okay.
And so we're digging into it deeper. And but they were, understandably upset and asking for help from their council. So we're going to see what we can do. We're going to dig into it deeper and go from there.
Goodness.
Yeah. It's important, though.
Well, that's the beauty of Citizens Open Forum.
Yep.
Ability to be heard.
Absolutely. Like that on the spot.
Boom.
Just come
5
on
minutes.
Up. 5 minutes turns into 30 when there's a bunch of folks there. So
Tag team, huh?
hey, it's absolutely fair.
Oh, so I heard that Oldsmar Fire Chief Jason Schwabe received a very special service award last night.
How about that? 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
20 years he's been with us. They put the picture up, and there he was. I didn't think he looked much different.
Did he have hair?
No.
Okay. Really?
So
he's
been sporting that style for 20 years.
Any styles are good.
But when he started with us, he was 25 years old.
Wow.
Right. So I just gave up his age, but that's okay. But I'll share this real quick story. Typically when the city manager makes those presentations, he reaches into their employee file, and there's accommodations. So folks know this. If somebody does something great, send in a letter about them, because that goes into their file. And so he was reading, the city manager was reading a story, didn't read it, but talked about how someone had sent a letter in about how Jason literally saved their life.
Oh, wow.
So it's certainly well-deserved to get his recognition, and we appreciate the work he does. He does a great job for us.
Oh, gosh. So let's see. Oh, yes, and there was one proclamation was presented to the community last night, proclaiming the month of July as Parks and Rec Month. So I know Oldsmar's Park and Rec Services, or Parks and Rec Department, is actually called Leisure Services.
That's right.
So how can the community help celebrate?
Well, we're more leisure.
Yes, we
so
are.
I guess that's why we changed the name years ago.
I think of leisure pants.
I remember leisure suits, right? Yeah, awesome. And Councilman Saraki presented that on my behalf last night. And so members are encouraged to go out and experience what programs we have. Mm-hmm. Maybe try something new this month that you've not done. Go to the website and look at what's available. There's a lot of different programs. In addition to making the quality of life better, what a lot of people may not appreciate is how much economic value they bring.
Got it.
There's a lot of studies that show that a strong leisure services program has an impact on the value of homes.
I agree with that.
And so, think about it. You want to live near a park. You want to live somewhere where there's a lot of recreation and that type of stuff. But they certainly deserve their due, and this is their month. So go celebrate them.
Go July.
That's right. Go to the parks.
Sunset yoga, I heard, is fabulous.
Yeah. Have you done that?
No. I'm married. It just doesn't happen.
I'm married.
Sorry,
I'm old, so I haven't, Now watch, you're going to get me out there now because I said that. I'll be out there stretched like a pretzel.
I'm blushing now, too. So public hearings, Ordinance 2021-17 received its first hearing, and this would be amending Chapter 58 of the Code of Ordinance. So did this ordinance pass?
Yeah, it did on its first reading.
Okay.
And typically, just so most know, the other items that were on there as public hearings that had first readings, most of them were housekeeping things.
Yeah.
Fixing grammatical errors, whatever the case might be. This wasn't. This actually has to do with right-of-ways of utilities and the process that we use to decide where those right-of-ways or easements should go. And it's always been where a staff member makes the decision of where it goes. One of the changes was to move that so generically from a director to the city manager or their designee, which pretty much means they're going to put it back to that, but to that individual. But there is like an appeal process that's always been in place. That means if a citizen has some kind of hardship as it relates to their piece of property and where it's being proposed to be put, they can always come to the city council and ask that it be reconsidered.
Okay.
And so what was being proposed and what did pass, I'm going to tell you I wasn't a fan of it, but it passed where it would be you could ask for a repeal from the city manager, which didn't make sense to me because you could go to the city manager twice, I guess. I don't know. But here's the reality of it. The reality of it is, and this is why I think the council felt it was fine to pass, because we asked and we've talked, in like 25 years, nobody can think of when this ever actually happened.
Yeah.
So it's probably something that was put in there years ago when they were building a lot and doing new easements and that kind of stuff. So I don't know that it has much of an impact, but in any event, that did pass. It'll have a second reading at the next meeting.
Okay. Lovely. Well, the city manager presented quite a few interesting agenda items last night. The first was the discussion of transferring event operations for Celebrate Oldsmar from the Leisure Services Department to the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. So what type of discussion resulted from this item?
Well, the city council supported making that transfer, so that's going to happen. And I think it's great, frankly. I mean, the staff provides us with a report. That report's online. And there's something they said in the report that sticks in my mind where they just nailed it, and that is our citizens might notice that we are now, as a city, putting on many more smaller, family-oriented events. So it's very targeted to the kids' movies or events like that at the park or something of that nature. And that requires a lot of staff time and effort to do. And so I think the consensus was the Chamber of Commerce does a tremendous job of putting on these major events. Most people don't realize that Oldsmar Days is actually a chamber event, right? We participate, we're sponsors. And so we felt like Celebrate Oldsmar would be better presented by the chamber, and they're willing to do it, and their volunteers do it, which makes a big difference for our staff because it takes months of planning and lots of hours to do, and then there's event day. And so they're going to make it a 3-day event.
Oh, wow.
And so the good news is that the city is still going to sponsor the fireworks.
Oh.
So the fireworks live on.
The fireworks are back. Awesome.
They're back. So
that was the best part.
It makes it a different vibe, right?
It does.
It's one of my favorite events. So that passed, and I know the chamber's going to do a great job.
Wonderful. So I know Celebrate Oldsmar was normally, first it was Labor Day, so much water and rain and, hurricane season, and then they were talking about October. So did they have a date on that at all?
I'm not sure what the firm date is. Maybe you've heard it because it sounds like you're leading me towards October.
No, I think it might be November.
Yeah, I think it is November because I know that they wanted some time to plan it.
Yeah.
And the history of the event, it was originally a 4th of July event. Did you know that?
No, I did not. It explains the fireworks.
And it rained so bad, and Safety Harbor does fireworks.
Yes, they do.
And we decided to do it on Labor Day, and people liked it so much they left it at Labor Day. That's that's the history of it.
Cool.
So in any event, it's changing hands. So stay tuned. They'll announce that.
Yes,
we'll promote it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll put it out there.
Yeah.
So a contract was presented for a water and wastewater system rate study. Was the contract approved?
It was approved.
Okay.
It's important. We have some obligations to legislatively to check our rates through an enterprise fund. An enterprise fund is a fund. It's like our water, our sewage treatment. They're treated separately in the sense that we don't use tax dollars from property taxes to fund it. They have to be funded by user fees.
Okay.
Right. and the reason they call it an enterprise fund is like a business enterprise. So it's got to make, we don't have to make a big profit or anything, but it's got to pay for itself. And so one of the things that we do is we find out through a professional service to ensure that we are being compliant, charging the correct rates. It also takes into account what the rates are in the area, so on and so forth. I will tell you, and it's not really a popular position that the mayor has with a lot of folks. I have believed for a long time that we should entertain having a capital improvement fee in with our utility funds. And the reason why is, even though we'll all pay a little bit more, if you look at what we've just done in Harbor Palms, and we've had to borrow millions and millions of dollars to fix the infrastructure there, right? So we're going to have to continue to do that in other places as time passes.
Correct.
And so the difference with us paying a little bit now, it saves all of us money long term, right? So instead of us going out and getting a big loan and paying an interest rate on it, the difference would be is that we bank a little, it makes the city stronger, and we presumably would earn interest on that money.
Yeah.
So it would cost us less long term, and we would be solid as a rock for, whatever needs come up. But so I'm hoping that's part of that study, quite frankly.
That'd be nice.
So anyhow, it did pass, and they'll get started on that right away.
Cool.
Yeah.
So a very special event application was presented for a new event for the city, managed by the chamber, and Second Fridays. So was it approved?
It was approved.
Awesome.
It was approved. It was unanimous. And so what the chambers is going to do, and they're jumping on it right away. The first event's July 9th.
Oh, goodness.
So on the second Friday, very similar to when we had the fifth Fridays, that were very popular down at the park for the Centennial. This won't be as grandiose, but they're doing it right here downtown on State Street, next to the property by City Hall.
Okay.
We all know what we're trying to work on for downtown, and this is kind of a build-up, I think, in many ways. But it's an opportunity to get some local vendors. I was talking to the chamber downstairs. They have about 10 committed for the first one already. They'll build that between now and then since it's been approved. And they'll have some music. Yeah. And it's going to be a nice event. They're going to do it on the second Fridays. They have July 9th, August 13th, September 10th, October 8th, November 12th, and December 10th. So through the rest of the year, they have them planned to do. And they're going to run from like 6 to 10. Okay. In the evenings. So it should be nice.
Very nice. Bring some additional activity to State Street.
Yeah. And the chamber always does a good job.
Yeah, they do.
So
a contract was presented to provide the necessary repairs to the pier, which sustained, sadly, damage during Hurricane Eta. Was the contract approved?
60 days.
60 days out.
60 days, everybody. My city manager promised last night that if we approved that contract in 60 days, it would be done. So, yes, it was approved. It was approved unanimously, no doubt. And so they're going to get started on that. They should get started on it right away. So, we got like 2 months till it's done. And be happy to have this behind us.
Yeah. So the community's been dying for that. So
Yeah.
So the any other key action items or items or from council meeting?
Well, we did have, as many people know, that the American Rescue Plan Act that Congress passed created funding and so forth for states and, importantly, local governments. The county, as well as our city and other cities here in Pinellas County, are expected to receive funding to help us in terms of recovering from the financial impact of COVID. And it's really intended for a couple of different places. Infrastructure is one of them that it's intended to address, and that is strengthening infrastructure, not only from cyber threats, but also from climate change, that type of thing, as well as whatever lost revenue we might have experienced during that time. And so we have, based on our early calculations and our submission, it sounds like the city is going to be receiving quite a bit of funding over the next 2 years. It's a combination over the next 2 years of almost $7 million. Wow. Which is substantial, which for us is terrific in the sense that we have some major improvements that we want to do, capital improvements to the water and sewer fund and operations. And so it'll allow us to do that. I think some of us are always of this mindset, not, let's not spend it until we have it from them, because the federal government has a history of taking their time on actually paying you.
Really?
I could tell you a story about FEMA that during the hurricanes up in Katrina, we went up and visited Slidell, Louisiana, and
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
we went up there like 2 months after the storm hit. They still hadn't seen $1, and they were just
Oh.
spending all this crazy money to try to survive. And so in any event, but it is exciting, and so we expect that to happen.
Cool.
Another really important item that I wanted to talk about today is, you might have noticed if you read the agenda that succession planning was on there.
Oh, what does that mean?
And so at our planning conference last month, our city manager, Al Braithwaite, announced his plans for retirement. So Al was planning on retiring at the end of September of next year. And so at that meeting, I had shared with the council, and with their blessing, that we would work with the city attorney to come and propose some options how to move forward. We know that he's leaving, and we know that we need to find another city manager.
Yeah.
And I will explain very quickly that in Pinellas County, there's a lot of demand going on for city managers right now.
Yeah, there is.
You probably saw in the news about Clearwater, who's filling that spot after Mr. Horn's been there for so long and done an amazing job. But they had 5 candidates, went down to 2, 3 dropped out. You have Madeira Beach, who's looking for someone, Kansas City, and there's some other things going on. So we recognize it's kind of a competitive environment. And so the city attorney and myself came up with 3 options that we discussed last night. And one was hire a recruitment firm to solicit candidates for the council's consideration, because the council makes that decision who the city manager will be. 2, that we simply post and advertise the position and have candidates submit their resume to HR, and ultimately those resumes, after being vetted, would come to us. And the 3rd, which I felt was the best option, was that we hire the next city manager by promoting from within. And everybody on council agreed with option 3. It was unanimous that that's the direction we want to go in. And so we added it to the next agenda. And I'll just be very candid about it. I mean, there was a lot of discussion that ensued. We have an amazing assistant city manager in Felicia Donnelly.
My boss.
Your boss. Yeah. And I think that the council believes that it would be a tremendous move for the city that we make a commitment to her, that we want her to be our next city manager. And it's really important that, I will tell you that she's in demand for these other jobs.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't want to lose her.
No.
And so it's important for us from a management standpoint to step up and say how we feel. We have it on the next agenda to actually vote on it, so that it allows people to come out if there's any comments that they'd like to make. That's why we always try to discuss it and put it on the agenda, because it's a better way of doing things. And so that's where we're at with the issue. The transition of stuff will just get decided afterwards. Last time we had a transition period when our former city manager left, Bruce Haddock, and when Mr. Braithwaite was coming in. And so I envision that that's the same type of process we'll go through this time.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal, very exciting, and she'll do a terrific job.
Yeah.
I never want to predict what the council's going to do because I'm one vote. But it was pretty unanimous, and everyone was pretty excited. And I said this last night. Some 4.5 years ago, a council made a decision that was bigger than the council, and that was when we hired Al.
Yeah.
He's done an amazing job. He's done a terrific job with mentoring and grooming his replacement. I think good leaders do that. Mm-hmm. And so he's going to be missed. I'm excited that he's going to retire for him. And so in any event, it was a big first step.
Cool.
Big first step. Let me give a little update on 2 other things. BMX Track, as you see, that starting hill is gone. Gone. She gone. Demolished. And so we're working diligently to get that rebuilt and get it reopened. We're excited that the contractor is now fully engaged out there. We're hoping to be open next year for a Pro-Am tournament, as well as the SSA tournament.
Yeah.
And, of course, by the end of the year, we've been told by USA BMX that the next Gator National, that'll come back to us.
Wonderful.
So we're ready to have a full year. I don't have a start date when it's going to be finished yet. I'm afraid to do that right now. Supplies and staff is still an issue for contractors. So
everywhere.
It's just slowed stuff down. But that's exciting news. The progress is going. And the last thing I have is that Project Pop Drop.
Oh.
You might remember we talked about it. We had Sharon Edwards on here. And Project Pop Drop collects items, non-perishable goods, clothing. Well, they really collect new undergarments, as well as toiletries for those less fortunate. This project benefits Oldsmar Cares, who is just a huge partner here in Oldsmar.
Yes.
And so there's locations all over. We have like 20 locations around Oldsmar. You literally could take and drop stuff off. We right here at City Hall, we have a box. You can find those locations on Project Pop Drop Oldsmar's Facebook page. But this Saturday is the tailgate party, and that's from 10 to 3.
Write that down.
And that's over at Walmart. So if you haven't had chance to be able to drop something off and you want to help out, it really is a huge, huge important project for us, for Oldsmar Cares. There'll be a bunch of folks out there having a good time. We'll have a truck out there, and you can get a little shopping list that they hand you when you go in. And we ask that you maybe look for 1 or 2 items on there, whatever you can handle. Pick up, throw in your cart, and on your way out, you could just hand it.
Nice.
Hand it off, and they'll put it in the truck.
Easy peasy.
And make sure it gets done. And Sharon Edwards and her group, they just do an amazing job. So it's good stuff.
Cool.
We have any Q&A on?
I'm not seeing any.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think.
I don't know, but you know what? I'm looking at my cup of coffee.
Is it empty?
And I'm telling you, it's empty. So you know what that means?
Yeah.
I think it's time to say goodbye. I want to thank everybody for listening today. Mark, who's behind the controls, who never says a word, got the best job in the house. Does a great job. And Deb, thank you.
No problem.
And all of our citizens, thanks for listening. Have a great day.